Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Show. It's fun to end up having to interview people for 4 hours. At least I know this is the end. The summer is over, and for our viewers out there and listeners, I'm sure the summer's almost over, not beginning. And again, you go to my website, totaltutor.net, for more information. Twitter, Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley, Instagram, Total Tutor, Pinterest, Neil Haley, and Google+. All the different places you can check me out and all those different things. And we continue. I love working with the National Publicity Summit. Thank you, Dee Dee Rittman, again, for scheduling such great guests. So I'm excited to welcome to the program author and educator Diana Thompson. Diana, thanks for calling, and how are you?
Oh, thank you. How are you?
Fantastic. And Diana, tell me specifically enough why you wrote some of these books. I mean, what is your hope by writing different books and really transforming people's lives, what you're trying to do?
Well, Neil, I am on a mission. I'm on a mission to change the way people think about emotions. Instead of they're avoiding emotions, I'm helping people to harness that as a resource for power and energy to help them achieve their goals.
And I think that's so important, to harness those emotions, because what happens when we don't harness our emotions, Diana?
Well, they work against us. I describe emotions like this. It's like having a co-pilot, and you can ignore that co-pilot, but be at risk that it's driving you in a different direction than where you want to go. And all too often, I think that's what people fall into the trap of doing, which is completely ignoring their emotions, and yet it's a source of energy, it's a resource, it's a source of power, and if we're not careful, it can take us in the direction that we don't want to go.
So if we're not looking at our emotions on a daily basis, Diana, what happens is, in so many ways, is that we don't know that there's a time we need to take a break. We don't know this is a time we need to get more sleep. We don't know this is a time to eat. If we don't look at that, then we're going to end up blowing up instead of using emotions on a daily basis to harness them and to look at what's the positive parts of those emotions, to look and take a self-check of ourselves, right?
Exactly. I say that it's, again, going back to the metaphor of the pilot's control panel, that emotions give you information about the inside systems and the outside conditions. Mm-hmm. So it's giving you information, and we can use it as a resource or we can ignore it. And those emotions are energy. It's right there in the word. Emotion. It's movement. It's power. And it can push you forward or it can hold you back. And I think all too often we do ignore our emotions, and they got to go somewhere. And as you just said, if we're ignoring them, if we're trying to suppress them, they're going to come out eventually.
They're going to come out, and then wham, right? It's going to smack dab at us, and what happens if that happens? Well, turmoil, right?
Exactly. And 77% of all Americans suffer from stress-related illness. And that's a direct response to those emotions that I believe become trapped in your body.
So how do we figure this out? How can we, when we're emotional, things are going down, we feel depressed, we feel angry, we have anxiety, we just don't feel like we're happy about our lives. Can we change that? Do we need to teach kids early these strategies so that in adulthood it sometimes might be too late? If you said 77% are dealing with this at some time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I specialize in working with children because I recognized a long time ago that if we're going to really make a difference, we have to start training this emotional intelligence system younger and younger.
Yes.
And the first thing that we have to do is to just make emotions part of our everyday conversation. You know, I love to say that emotions can bring people together or they can push them apart.
Definitely.
And when you just bring up emotions in an everyday conversation, you'll see very often people will run in the other direction because just talking about emotions is so uncomfortable. So the first thing we have to do is just talk about our emotions, and it doesn't have to be in a therapeutic kind of experience. Just talking about how you felt during the day, what happened to your body, how how you experience emotions from other people, and then how you navigate through them, because it's a subconscious experience that we have, and we need to make it a conscious experience so we can have more control over it.
The subconscious experience. And so having conversations with your kids at an early age, dialogue, not how was your day, more tell me about what's going on with you, and listening is going to be a great strategy for a parent.
Right. And really tuning into the little clues that children will give you about how they're feeling, and then pushing them to put words to the emotions. So, for example, a child says, I'm sad. Well, sad is something that you just have to ride through. I'm feeling lonely. Well, that's something you can do something about.
Yes.
So the more we push children to identify what their emotions are specifically, the more we can help use those emotions as a resource for information, because that's all they are. They're just giving us information about what's going on inside and what's going on outside in our circumstances. So the more we can capture that as a resource, the more we can leverage it.
So we're learning to identify these emotions by the conversation. So give us an example of what you would do if you're talking to somebody, let's say, 4th or 5th grade, because they're not teenagers yet where they're ready to shut down. They're really willing to share what's going on with them, but this is where you can kind of pinpoint where things could be going later on if we don't have those conversations.
That's right. No, this is a pretty common statistic. A lot of people know this, but it's shocking to me every time I think about it. Suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death for young people ages 10 to 24. And so often we hear stories of a child committing suicide and the people around them going, we didn't see it coming.
No,
well, there were clues that were there. And when we're paying attention to them, then we can do something about it. You know, one of the techniques I like to use with young people is texting and emojis, because that's how young people are communicating now. So as parents, we can use that as a resource as well. So, you know, when a child is having a hard time opening up, start texting. Send emojis. Say, you know, this is how I'm feeling. How are you feeling? And a lot of times, young people will say things in text they would never say to your face. And even with younger children, very, very young children, say 5, 6 years old, who don't quite have the vocabulary or the conversational skills to really talk about their emotions, you can have them draw how they feel and then start the conversation. I've done that with older students as well, teenagers. If they don't have the words to describe their emotions, great, let's sit down and draw it.
So true. And that's such an important part of it. And if we're not able to identify that, if we're not able to look at that, and so what ones are red flags? If you're talking about suicide from 10 to 24, which ones are red flags that, you know, this is a lot more than just I'm upset because I couldn't watch television, or I'm upset because I didn't make the team? When's those flags come up to say, okay, we need to have them see some sort of professional?
I think it's not necessarily one emotion, it's the pattern of emotions.
Okay.
We have to be aware of if our children lack the resilience to overcome the everyday upsets.
Yes.
And when they have a hard time overcoming those little challenges, that's when it's a red flag that we really need to take this problem head on, and to recognize that sometimes emotional management becomes the problem.
Yes.
That it seems like there are other circumstances that are the problem, but if we don't deal with it, then the emotions become the problem. So it's really looking at the patterns over a period of time, and maybe not just one thing.
What percentage of time? Because you know that especially certain people are more emotional than others. What percentage of the time saying, oh my gosh, these patterns are crazy and they're all the time? When should we start to say, uh-oh, there's something going on?
I don't know that I can pinpoint that exactly, but if you're in conversation with your child, then you'll start getting clues as to whether or not you can even come up with creative strategies to navigate the emotions. If you are trying to navigate them and you can't kind of help your child find the tools to recover from these little disappointments, then go get help, because it might just mean that you need more creative resources than you have at your disposal. And one of the challenges is that there's such a stigma around getting and receiving this help in the emotional arena, because it seems like there's something wrong with you. And we really have to change the perception around that, because, you know, everyone needs support at some point. And once we remove the stigma around emotions, then we can remove the stigma of getting support around it.
Something wrong with you. Such a great point. And it's not. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just basically they need to have someone to talk to, come up with strategies so that they feel, hey, like, I'm better than this. I have to understand this. I can overcome these things. And talking to another person sometimes is a great thing. But talking to your kids, so key, Diana. Where's the best place we can find information on you and learn more about you, Diana? Where can we go?
You can go to www.heroesleaderschampions.org.
All right. Well, great talking to you. Best of luck to you, and we'll talk soon, okay?
All right. Thank you so much.
Take care. Okay. Bye-bye. All right. You're watching The Neil Haley Show. When we get back, another exciting guest. We'll be back in just a moment. We're back to the Neil Haley Show. An amazing interview. Again, go to my website, totaltutor.net for more information. Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley, Instagram, Total Tutor, Pinterest, Neil Haley, and Google Plus, Neil Haley. And this is a celebrity segment, and I'm so excited to welcome to the program Joan Steiger. Joan, thanks for calling, and how are you? And it's been a long time no chat. How are things going?
Oh, just great, just great. I'm, of course, you know, we've been writing my book, and it's getting close to publication, so I'm very excited about that. It's called Brooklyn Baby, because I was born in Brooklyn. And my co-writer has also written a film and is producing it, and I expect to be doing a really nice role in that.
Oh, wow. So two different types of projects. First, the book, we talked about that a couple of years ago, but you're really putting it together. It's a lot of work, and the stories from Candid Camera to your relationship with Rod and all the different other opportunities you had acting. It's quite an interesting story of whose paths you've crossed in your career in acting, for sure, right?
Oh, gosh. Well, that's the fun of being an actor, is that it's always exciting because you're always meeting new people and meeting actors that you come in contact with maybe sooner than later, and on different projects. It's a very exciting world. So sometimes when people say, "Oh, are you retiring?" I say, "Retiring from fun."
Well, that's so true, and retiring from fun and continuing to do all these different things, and your experiences for our listeners out there to kind of define, and viewers, your late husband, Rod. Tell me specifically, because again, we forget about these things. We forget about the great movie stars and his experience. So tell us a little bit about Rod.
Well, the thing is that it's hard to believe that he passed away in 2003. That's 12 years ago. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, I just can't believe it. And the sad thing is that fewer and fewer people remember him. So if you're younger than 30 years old, they don't even know who he is. And it's just unbelievable because he he's really an icon, and Rod was fabulous. Of course, we met when I first started acting in New York, so I was doing a show with him, and at that time he was appearing in on Broadway, and I'm trying to think of the name of the play now. It'll come to me. And so he asked me to come see the show, and as we were crossing Broadway, I looked up, and there on the big marquee was Rod Steiger starring in Al Capone. So I said to him, "Oh my gosh, what does it feel like starring in a movie and starring in a film at the same time?" And he said, "Oh, great, kid." So, of course, Rod, a lot of people don't know that he was a wonderful poet and had been writing poetry since he was a child. So every time we were out, he would read me a beautiful poem. And naturally, when we got together years later here in Hollywood and were married, he wrote me a beautiful poem on our wedding day. So, and by the way, the play at the time was Rashomon that he was starring in on Broadway.
Yeah, definitely, and something that when I think about specifically enough the whole situation with his career and everything, how much did you learn from acting from him? Especially, I know being married to him and having that time, did he give you some good pointers in acting at times?
Well, the thing is that I studied with Stella Adler, and I had all my great teachers were and similar modes of acting. But no, the strange thing is he was a fan of mine. He came to see me in a play because I've done over 30 plays, stage plays. So when we were going together, he came to see me in a play, and after that, every time a movie script would come to the house, or he'd say, "Have you picked out your part yet?" No, he thought that I was like it. I was so, I was mesmerized and amazed, and when I acted with him, it was just so easy.
What films did you act with him in? Tell us.
Well, I did 2 films with him that were made for television. One was, I have to always go check my walls.
That's okay.
Month of Sundays, and the other one was, they've changed the title, and so it's always confusing to me. It was a mystery with several other actors. I can't think of names of stuff. You can't believe this. I'm in my hallway looking at all my pictures on the wall.
Oh, you should tell us some of the pictures in the hallway you're looking at. Tell me some of the pictures with Rod and you and
Well, here's the first one is a big poster of Waterloo that he starred in as Napoleon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with Christopher Plummer and Orson Welles.
Oh, my. Yeah.
And directed by Sergei Bondarchuk. Rod always talked about him. And then, of course, Dr. Zhivago. That's my favorite movie.
Oh, Dr. Zhivago, yes.
Rod was fabulous in that, and he should have been nominated for an award. He was very proud of that because he was the only American actor in it. They were all English. Omar Sharif and Julie Christie, Geraldine Chaplin, Alec Guinness, Tom Courtney, Ralph Richardson. Yeah. So, and then what have we got? Of course, The Pawnbroker, which he was nominated for, Across the Bridge. With let's see.
Going to AMC would be a good idea to check out some of those films, or look at Netflix to watch some of Rod's work for sure.
Well, of course, he's done several hundred television
films,
shows. And films. Yeah, the by the tons. So acting with him was, well, it was just easy and wonderful. It's like when always when you're playing with somebody that's that you look up to and you feel is better than you, it's like playing tennis. You know, come up to that. But I just felt it was easy because it was wonderful. And if you're a good actor, what you do is listen and react. So who couldn't react to Rod Steiger?
Oh, I know, for sure. And what would you say, you talked about, remember one of our interviews about candid camera. What about other experiences? What film would you call that, hey, this was the one I remember the most, or TV show that you did that you would say, hey, this was a tremendous memory for yourself?
Well, you see, I'm such a stage actor that to me, I have one of the stage plays that I starred in that I'm so proud of was Leona. Leona Helmsley, my one-woman show here in Hollywood at the Matrix Theater. And I worked on that for 6 months. And I remember the director saying to me, now, Joe, don't worry about a thing because, you know, if you're up on your lines, I'll be here to cue you off stage. And I said, oh, my God, you will not. Get me completely off my trend of thought and everything. Terrible. So let's see. Anyway, let me go back to what you asked me before. Yes. The two films were The Flying Dutchman, they changed that title with Eric Roberts, and I had a wonderful part in that. It was terrific. And A Month of Sundays. Those were the two films I did with him. And of course, and then I did The Prizefighter with Tim Conway and Don Knotts, which was that was written by my first husband, John Myers.
What was your role in The Prizefighter? Who'd you play?
Oh, I was like a Miss Kitty.
Miss Kitty
type role. Yeah, owner of the bar and restaurant type thing. Yeah.
Last time we talked, I was so amazed at all the different projects you were still doing and the acting you were still doing, even when you said you were retired. What's new with Joan right now? I know the book, once soon, could be out. Definitely have you back on the program once the book is out. But what other things are new with Joan?
Well, of course, I still tap dance, 3 times a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been doing, I've been a dancer. I've tapped since I was 7. And our teacher is a terrific choreographer from films and everything. And everybody in the class has been like, we have a couple of girls that were Soul Diggers with Dean Martin show. And so they're all former professionals and stuff. And we have a great time, and we do big routines just for ourselves. So that's great fun.
Are you doing any web series like we talked about before you were involved in? Anything with
what?
Web series? Remember you were doing some acting a couple years ago? Are you doing any more?
I'm sorry.
No, acting, Joan. Any more acting, or are you retired completely now?
Oh, no, I'm retired. No. I have another film that's going to a festival, the Opus to an Angel, which is a wonderful story about this little blind girl. And I have some wonderful scenes with her. It's a charming film. So that's going to a festival, and I did that last year, a few months ago. So yeah, so I'm still busy. The book, has been very, very time consuming. When people say, "Oh, I think I'll write a book," I say, "Well, I plan on 1.5 years."
Well, sometimes books take forever to write, but I cannot wait till you'll be the first on my show once your book comes out, Joan, for sure. So where's the best place we can find information on you, Joan? Where can we go?
Well, on my website and everything, Joan Benedict Steiger. So it's all up there.
All right. Well, best of luck to you. Good talking to you, and we'll be in touch once the book comes out, okay? Sound good?
Okay. That's wonderful. Great talking with you.
Great talking to you too, Joan. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. You're watching The Neil Haley Show. What a fantastic show. Go to my website, totaltutor.net, for more information. Twitter, Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook. Next week, some more great education talk. Remember, #Neil Haley. Good day, everyone.